Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is. Catania Alvin speaking from London. I'm endeavouring to do a quick update on Nigel Farage at the MEP, and I've also got Daddy Dragon Brexit court case update 16th of April. So European Union, Nigel Farage 16th of April, and Brexit court 16th of April, and also a very interesting, I suppose you'd call it a documentary, Brexit Betrayal, Treachery or October Reformation, a very good overall view of what England has been through over the ages. So we'll start with Nigel Farage, God bless his soul, fantastic. And I think that you're looking at probably the next Prime Minister of real essence that will be coming after we've had another general election.
To do myself out of this job, and I thought I'd succeeded. Little did I realise what the UK political class would do, so the morning message is I'm coming back. In fact, lots and lots of us are coming back, because Mr. Verhofstadt is right. Yes, I said that. First time ever. You're quite right. The Brexit Party will sweep the board in these elections, and there is only one way it can be stopped, and that is if the governing party of Mrs May and the opposition of Mr Corbyn come together and agree to a permanent customs union and indeed effectively membership of the single market.
I want to stop you there because I had a comment that in my previous video that actually Nancy Pelosi had been over to Europe and told May she had to stay in Europe. Well, that's an interesting point. Could be possible. And also Obama was over there too.
If that happens, the Brexit Party won't win the European elections, but it will win the general election, because the betrayal will be so complete and utter. So I don't believe it's going to happen. And as 15 years as a joint or sole president of a group, I have been to dozens of European summits, and again I've seen conflict between nation states and the European institutions, whether it was the Austrians or the Irish or the Hungarians or indeed the Greeks. And there is one golden rule, always, and that is that Brussels wins. The power and might of Brussels always wins. But I've never been to a European summit quite like last week, where for the second time in 2 weeks, a British Prime Minister comes along and begs for an extension to Article 50. It was humiliating, not just to be in Brussels, but humiliating for the standing of our country around the world. You know, the Commonwealth, America, many of these countries that actually like us still believe that we're a great nation, and yet we have sunk to this. A Prime Minister that promised us we'd leave on the 29th of March, that then said we might leave on the 12th of April, that we definitely leave on the 30th of June, and now we're being told we'll leave on the 31st of October. Halloween, trick or treaty, make your minds up. And if it's your last day, Mr Juncker, well, I hope that we leave together on that day. But actually, if it's left to this appalling Prime Minister, if it's left to our politicians in Parliament, I know that it's not going to happen.
I'll put it in the description box. It is a brilliant speech as he gathers momentum, really is. But you know, one of the things that I think the Committee 300, and it's very easy to toss out that word, just Committee 300. I don't mean it in that way, but there are so many committees within that come down, and with their policies, their psychological way of destroying the public sense of self-worth in a country. And through the Clintons, the Bushes and the Obamas, they dragged America and the American psyche into the gutter. Well, you know, some might feel that and some won't, but there certainly was some that said they didn't feel very proud to be American. They were aware of what other nations were thinking about them. Now, that is also what has been happening in Britain as people have got poorer and poorer over during this European Union time that we've had in here. It's ripped the heart out of Britain. Right, this is called Brexit Betrayal, Treachery or October Reformation. And this is by Brexit Vision, and it was published on April the 14th, 2019.
Appropriate that we should be filming in York, statue of Constantine, the only Roman emperor ever proclaimed emperor outside of Rome, when these islands were once before under the domination of a European empire.
Exactly. William the Conqueror, also, 1066.
So I want to speak directly to members of other nations and other cultures who have come to Britain to settle. The Poles, the Latvians, the Hungarians, the Lithuanians, the people of Asian cultures and of all nations who've come here for a better way of life, who have espoused British values and the British system of democratic government. Britain had values which meant that this was a safe and free place to settle, to raise your families and to prosper.
Now, what I want to say here is there's been a fabric that has rotted, and it's taken really, when I did the research into banking, and I started with the Bank of England, and that took me down, interestingly enough, through the Vatican and 2,000 years. And what I realized is that when the Bank of England, particularly when the Bank of England was set up in 1694 in Britain, and it was known as the last Vatican Bank, whereas Vatican banks had gone all through Europe. But Britain, the Bank of England, with the 24 wealthy landowners, well, 25, it was William Paterson that started finding these wealthy men to set up the Bank of England. Within a year of the Bank of England being established, England was in poverty because of the intentionality of those bankers. Those bankers went to William of Orange. He was married to our Queen, Mary. We're talking about 1690-something, and remember the founding fathers had gone off in 1621. So the aim of the Bank of England was to destroy America. William asked the bankers if he could have a loan, or they offered him a loan, so that he could go to war because the privy purse was empty. They said yes, on the proviso that you give us the right to print the money. Now, this is where the central banks basically came from. He agreed, and he gave them the charter to print the money. A completely separate, privately owned bank was handed the printing presses, which would get hung, drawn and quartered if you were creating counterfeit money. The Crown kept a very small amount to print the coinage. And from that time, the bankers went to the Parliament and said, we can show you a way to always having money coming in. You never pay off the principal. So the debt just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, that's one of the criminal ways that the Bank of England, and out of it was spawned the Federal Reserve. So, as I said, when I was looking online and I found correspondence between two men at that time, and they were commenting about the tragedy that England had become like a third world country. There was great poverty, and that was due to the Bank of England setting up. They wouldn't allow any other banks in the City of London to hold gold, and the face of England changed drastically at that time. And since then, when you have a group of people who are so totally focused in raising themselves up to take over, we can go back to the Illuminati, which was set up in 1776, and that was the 13 wealthiest families. And remember, the Bank of England had come out of the Vatican. It was the last Vatican bank. It was a Jesuit incentive, and it was an incentive basically destroy America, because we'd had the Reformation and the 1500s But there was a huge brain drain going to America. It was really the Pope or the Vatican bishops didn't want that. So we've got the people, but the people of England have been betrayed, not just back to those times. They were being betrayed before, but let's just hold it at that time. From the late 1600s, they have been betrayed. And so this political party and the political movement, which was, should I say, the bankers wove themselves into the political parties. So really the bankers have taken over, and then the politicians have just become liars and have done the will of the bankers. So we carry on here.
All of that is now threatened, and we are now, I think it's fair to say, a bit of a laughingstock for the weakness of our feeble government. We were once a beacon light in the nations, and we need to be that beacon once again. A beacon of hope to other European nations, many of whose people feel exactly the same as we do. That actually, we want the cooperation, we want the trade, but we want to retain the culture and the sovereignty of our independent nation states.
Right, and of course what the bankers have done, they've taken over, and this is globalization, the one world order. Now in my not last video, the one before, I talked about the paedophilic EU, and I don't say those words lightly, because it is rampant in the Europe, and added to by that's covert, but an overt situation with the devastating effect of so many different nationalities coming in and with very different cultures, and raping our women and destroying the culture and creating a culture of fear. So this is really what we're challenged with. And if I go back, think about Nigel Farage and his Brexit Party and his enthusiasm, then that's a very exciting thing that we now face, because I think we're facing a revolution, a human revolution, whereby we know enough of what these politicians and bankers particularly, and people like George Soros and the Koch brothers and many others are doing, and we're rising up, and I think that's a very good thing. So this final video I've got here is a lovely one, Daddy Dragon, and he's talking with Robin Tillbrook, and it's regarding the Brexit court case and the update of how that's going forward. All these links will be in the description box.
They're very interested in what's going on with us. I mean, I've done an interview with SGT report yesterday, a guy called Sean. That should go live today. Literally 20 minutes having a chat about this case. He mentioned Bill Cash, and I said, you know, Bill Cash has talked about it's unlawful, but hasn't actually done anything. We've done it. It's there. It's in the courts. So one of the reasons for this call is, obviously since I've been away, I haven't given a full update for all the people who are asking. There's quite a few people who are asking.
Here's Robin Tillbrook speaking.
In the High Court, as you say, the process that happens with the judicial review is that once you've served the papers, then have to wait for the state that you're reviewing, the government, to put in their case.
Right, so basically what he's saying, the papers have actually gone to court, and then the government got 21 days to reply to that. Do watch it in the description box. It'll be there. Okay, God bless. Love and light to everyone. And humanity are indeed rising up. God bless. Stay well, and happy Easter to everyone. Katanya Alvin signing out.